G'day everyone, and welcome back to What Do I Know? This is episode 11, and I'm going to be dealing with March 2021 in this episode. Again, it was another full-on month. Coming into the month, we knew that we had big problems. There was an investigation, supposed investigation, in full swing, but none of us have been really told that we were under investigation except Brian. But something right on the 1st of March cropped up on that one. Brian gave me a copy of the letter that he had received the previous October, and I said to Brian, this letter does not look normal. And he said, well, why does it not look normal? I said, well, number one, you've been told you're under investigation, but it only mentions one of the standards complaints. I said, where's the others? So I said, you can't be investigated for any others. They can't just drag it in unless they contact you and tell you that that is what is happening. In other words, give you a secondary notice. And I asked him, have you been given such secondary notice? The answer was straight, both verbally and in writing, no. They haven't. Chesterys have not. So I said, well, they can't sit you under investigation for anything else unless they tell you. It's an invasion of your privacy, and it also means you're not getting a fair hearing, you're not getting a fair trial, Brian. I said, this is going to have to be a point we're going to have to raise in our next meeting with our legal advisors. As it was, I actually knew the person who had put their name at the bottom of the letter, but there was no signature, so I contacted that person who had left Cheshire East at this point, and I asked them. Now, I knew that they worked to the same professional regime that I worked to, both as a solicitor and as a professional investigator, and that I keep a full log of every document that I send out, that I write. I note when I did it, who it went to, when it went, the time it went, and the method it went. I also save copies of the communication method that's used, whether that be I have to drop it off and get a receipt, whether it be by email, download a copy of the email with the document attached. And I said, right, I said, have you got that in your logbook? And because we keep a little black notebook. It's what all solicitors who've been really properly trained have. And I have one, I still have one. And I still employ that method, even now as a professional investigator. And he checked his logbook and he said, I don't have a record of that letter. So I said, in other words, you didn't know about this letter being written, and you certainly didn't know about it being sent. No, he said, I didn't. He said, there would have been a complete log record. I haven't got anything. And I thought, well, I know this guy very well. He's always been truthful and honest to me, and he's become a good friend, and he's not going to lie to me over something as serious as this. So I did actually put him to the test on that one. He said, I'm not lying to you. Straight up, not lying. He even showed me where it should be in his logbook, and it wasn't there. Now, we suddenly realised that somebody at Cheshire East had gone and sent a letter out in his name that should never ever have been sent. So, in other words, we were now dealing with evidence that the notice that had been given to Brian actually was not just improper, it actually fell under the heading of fraudulent. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how's that possible? We've got a situation where something has got the name of somebody on it who doesn't know anything about it, and it's sent to convey a message. Okay, that message is not an honest message. Okay, or it's not going by honest means. The letter itself is the instrument to convey that dishonesty. And the way I would always look at this, you could use this as a Section 6 or Section 7 fraud offence. You could, potentially. It will need a bit more thorough examination. I know there are probably people going out there saying you're a bit far-fetched. But I would want more time to sit down and look at this. But certainly, we could potentially say this letter may well have been put together and used as a false instrument to cause loss to Brian, and Brian feeling that he's under investigation, he's lost his integrity, everything, taking it for granted for somebody else's, advantage, dishonest advantage, or dishonest gain. But that's something else. It's an interesting debate, that. I mean, I certainly think there's a possibility that the letter could have been a fraudulent instrument. I would need to do a lot more work and give it a lot more consideration, really, to be quite frank, before coming to an absolute conclusion, but that's what it certainly seemed. Either way, we knew that it wasn't a genuine letter. On top of this, at the beginning of March, bang on March the 1st, because they hadn't got their way, and when I say they, I mean, the Wallies, the mob, the babies, they hadn't got their way, and I hadn't been at the parish council meeting, the virtual one in February, that seemed to find its way onto YouTube. Not via Janet Taylor this time, in my hand. Surprise, surprise, somebody else did it. But I have to say, really, I've seen that video. I think John Smith was very juvenile in his attack on Brian. I think he was overly aggressive and disrespectful. And he also, because he was using the crowd as his get-together, as his entente, showed how much of a coward he really is. I mean, I dare say I don't think he would have launched into anywhere near a tirade if that had been a face-to-face meeting. Because he hasn't the guts, he hasn't the balls. And also I think Brian would have sternly rebuked him, and Brian would have said, look, no, you're not doing that. Of course I wasn't there because I was not well. I've got an illness, and we were trying to figure out what on earth the illness was. And at this time, beginning of March, we were veering right towards it being a possible minor heart attack. So I was having to take it easy. And of course, Sue Moore sticks the oar in. Yeah, one of the babies, the juvenile one, the one who kept crossing her arms and going, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. Kids in a schoolyard, a primary schoolyard. Yeah, do that. Not adults or supposed adults on a parish council. Yeah, you never see me do it. You won't see Jean do it. Manny never did it. Brian never did it. You won't see any of the people who represent our side doing anything like that. Because if they did, they'd have got sternly rebuked and told, look, stop bringing shame. It's unacceptable. She sends an email out to my email address. Now, she's tried this half a dozen times and got a bounce back. She knows she's getting a bounce back because she's blocked both of them. One, her parish council email account and her business email account. Now, yeah, she's using a business email account to do council work. Not just slightly illegal, that. Very illegal. You cannot use a business account to do council work from. Some might think you can. You can't. That was hammered into me when I was a teenager, when I was first a counsellor. I want to say teenager, obviously 18 and upwards. Can't be counsellor sub 18. That was hammered into me. Because we did actually have a counsellor who was doing that. And he got one hell of a bollocking. As it was, I was pleased that he fought off the finger jabbing and pointing, asking him to resign. And he remained on. But that's what Sumo was doing. So I blocked both of them. Because I'm not taking her crap. I'm not taking her sass. I'm not getting involved with her baby. Alright? I'm not. I'm not wasting the time. And at this time, my health's more important than anything else. Right? I'm coming first. It might sound selfish, but I'm sorry if it does sound selfish, but my health's coming first. Me. Then my family. When I say my family, I don't just mean my mum, my dad, my brother, my dog. I mean my partner, her brother, his partner. I mean, my partner's mother and father, even the cats, they come first. And then, of course, very, very, very close friends. And of course, at this time, and I've got to say this, and it's not a pot shot, there are those who claim to be friends and then just dump me, saying text messages, don't ever text me again. Fine. I know where you lie, you were never a friend, you weren't even a colleague, you weren't even an associate, you were nothing. That's fine. That's fine. You've exposed your true colours. Your loss, not mine. I don't care. But she sent this email demanding a finance committee meeting. Now, Brian had forwarded this to me. He said, I don't think you've seen this. I said, no, I haven't seen it. And I spoke to him on the phone, and I also emailed him, and I was quite cross. I wasn't upset, I was cross. I'm annoyed. I said, look, I know because Brian had sent an email and said, I'm not well. So do not ask me to do anything at this time. There is a problem. I am ill. Okay, and Brian was working his damnedest and his hardest, as was Barry, to help and support me. I was getting nothing else from the three babies. Not even the clerk to the council had the guts or the balls or the decency or the honesty to contact me and say, hey Al, you alright? Do you need any help from the council? Do you need any support? Would have been nice to have got it, but now I know where I stand. Caught him out, found him out, but where he's going to be reasonable goes out the window. He can't be reasonable, he can't be decent. But Seymour sends this email, and I'm going to say this. I've never in my life read and laughed at, and I still laugh at it, such a poorly contrived attempt to try and get me to turn up to a parish council meeting, let alone chair one. Wasn't ever going to happen. And I saw right through you from the very second the email arrived from Brian. Told Brian what I was doing, when I was doing it, and how I was doing it. I wasn't chairing no finance committee meeting. So you forget it. My health was far more important. On top of this, I had to prepare myself for the 2nd of March. I had a meeting with Mr. Robinson on the pretence that I was there to give my opinion and be able to give up evidence in support of Barry and Brian against the complaints that they had made against them. It was online. I spoke with my solicitor beforehand and I said, look, I'm going to do it. But there was one thing I did do, and I can do. I used probable cause and reasonable ground against this would-be investigator. And what he didn't realise is he was, as you'll find, trying to be a bit of a Jack the Lad. I was recording that meeting. And I've got a video of it. Or at least a soundtrack of it. Yeah. That is a case of be careful what you wish for, because there's no way in the world I was going to miss out on that opportunity. Because very early in the set, and after even speaking to my solicitor, I said, I think this is a setup. I said to my solicitor, I said to him, I do not believe he's going to ask me any questions about the complaints that are against me. Those, the 3 babies are putting against me, to the baby, the clerk had, are putting against me. Nothing. He's not going to talk to me about that. Do you know what? I was right. Very early in the set, he tried to argue the toss over the situation regards Jean's disqualification. I said, I thought you weren't interested in this. I said, I've got an email here from Barry that you sent to him saying that you weren't interested in that it was not your remit. I said, now suddenly you're asking questions about it. I said, why? I said, you got doubts? You worried that what you might have been told or what you might believe is wrong? And he went, no, it's wrong. It's not wrong. He said, it's clear. He said, it's clear that Councillor Thompson has missed 6 months. I said, how'd you work that one out? Well, he said, she last attended in November. I said, yeah, I walked out when she was being bullied by John Smith. And I said, Barry and I have conducted an investigation. It's that proper lawful investigation, and he's guilty. He's bullied a councillor. And I said, we would be looking to sanction him. And he said, what? I said, 6 months censure. I said, that's what's swinging its way. And I said, that means he can't go running around writing his silly little emails and do what he's doing. He has to report directly to us. And if he doesn't, then it's a very serious code of conduct issue. And it could even be a criminal offence. He said, how can it be a criminal offence? I said, I thought you were familiar with public law. I said, doesn't that say that it's your speciality in the Bar Standards Association? And he said, well, it might do. And I said, well, it does do. And I produced the picture. And I showed him. I said, see, I've printed the document out. I've got it. And he went very sullen and very quiet. And I said, right. I said, so how do you work out that Jean missed 6 months? I'd like your take on it. Well, he says, yeah, she left the meeting in November. I said, I'm not bothered about November. We all know about November. Why did you make it that Jean missed 6 months? Well, he said she never came in December, January, February or March, and she missed April, May and June. I says, hang on a minute. Just run that by me again. Well, he says, didn't come in December, missed January, February, March, April, May and June. I went, she missed April, May and June. I said, well, that's all 3 of us then. I said, I thought you were supposed to have this expertise in public law or constitutional law, as some people know it. I said, you can't count to 6, can you? And I will admit, I went for him. And I said, there was only meetings in December, January, February and March. We go, December, January, February, March. I don't know about any of you out there, but that's 4. That's not 4. That's not 6. That's 4. I said, you're to miss 6 months of meetings where meetings are taking place. I said, it's not 6 months. I said, do you not understand Renison's application, now it's been applied, and the fact it is applicable here? I said, do you not get it? I said, you've not done any research. I said, so as far as Brian and Barry and their assertions, they're absolutely bang to rights, they're correct, they're right, they're spot on. And I said, there's no denying it. And I told him and I warned him, I said, you write anything to the contrary saying she did miss 6 months, I will hold you up as a liar. And as he did that, I'm going to tell you now, he's dishonest. In my opinion, both personal and professional, he's dishonest in what he wrote. And if you're being asked to work in the role of an investigator, you've got to be clear, open, transparent, and honest in anything and everything that you do. Because if you're not, your whole work, your reports, your investigation, your style, your professional, your professional integrity is on the line. Your name is on the line. You can't do that. He chose to do it. So I corrected him, and so he said, "Well, we're gonna have to disagree on that." I said, "I don't disagree on it." I said, "I am right on this," and I said, "I might want to sound big-headed. I am right, but you're wrong." And I will admit, I went a bit Brian Clough here, and I've a lot of my mates going, "Oh, you didn't." I went, "Yeah, I did." I said, "I will listen to your views. You will listen to my views, but you're gonna have to realise that my views are the right views. You can't disagree with the rule of law." And he wanted to disagree with the rule of law. He then decided on that because I think I got up his nose a little bit, under his skin, or a bit of both, I don't know. I might have got up his... It's a big one, his jacksy, I don't know. Either way, he started getting arsey with me. And he said, right, he said, "Well, you're saying this election's illegal." I said, "Well, it is going to be illegal because we haven't got a vacancy. You can't hold an election when there's no vacancy." And he went, well, how'd you cancel it?" And I said, "Well, that's easy. I haven't had experience of it." And I had, going back to when I was a councillor as a teenager. Now, all I ever got was the papers. I wasn't on a committee because I didn't want to be on that committee because I was studying at the time. I needed time to study. I was away from home. I wanted to get my degree, first major qualification after school, A levels and stuff like that in my life. And it meant a lot to me. On top of that, there was other hobbies I had at university, and one of them was playing a very, very good game. It was called rugby, and I love my rugby, as anybody will tell you. Love it. Played it, love it. Cherish it, will do so for the rest of my life. It's given me so much fun. Anyway, with this particular case, I made it quite clear to him that yes, I was whipped. I was part of a political party, I was whipped, and asked to vote in agreement with the motion that there'd been a mistake, and that because no votes had been cast, we simply put corrective notices out on the notice boards in the ward. I said, "Look, have we got any legal advice papers in here?" And he said, "Yes, full councillor taken legal advice." And I looked at the legal advice document, and it was very, very precise, very concise, very matter of fact. It was there. And I said, "Well, I have no problem backing the motion then." And I actually spoke to the monitoring officer of that council and the legal advisors, and I said, "Are we sure? Is this the right way to go?" And I remember being quite clearly told, and I told this to Robinson. I said, "Look," I said, "if a vote had been cast, we had an election, different kettle of fish. Got to get a court order. It might well be a judicial review order. Either way, we might have to go to the High Court, and that's not going to be a hearing that's going to last a couple of days. It could be a couple of weeks. It could be a very long hearing because you're talking about people who believe they've legitimately gone to an election to vote for someone, to find the vote has been expunged and disqualified, and those who thought they've elected a new councillor and elected the winner haven't got that new councillor. Either way, we knew we were hurtling towards, at this time, we were hurtling towards an illegal election. Okay? And that's going to come up in this video. Not the election, but something in connection with it that took place at the beginning of March. Then again, Cheshire East cocked up because they hadn't the balls, the gumption, the decency, the honesty to actually say, "Whoa, hang on. This is now becoming a real mess and there's illegality, serious illegality involved." They just let it ride. They didn't care. They didn't even say, "Hang on, this has got to go to the police who are monitoring this election." I'm sure the police would have liked to see that, but I will get to that in a few moments. So this interview with Robinson goes on, and I'm thinking, I'm dealing with an idiot here. I've got an idiot. I've got somebody who thinks he's an investigator who doesn't know. Now, one important thing I'm going to let you know. I actually put a question to him and said to me, "Why couldn't you supply me with a list of questions you were going to ask? Because if I'm here giving my opinion and putting in evidence to help Barry and Brian, I should have been allowed to see the questions." It's a fact. It's a procedural requirement in investigation. And there's a few exemptions where that doesn't need to come in. One, if you think you've got a suspect who you let see the questions before they come to the interview, could let them go on to somebody else, so it completely diverts the investigation, you can end up with a situation where you've got prepared answers coming in, so they're all owning up to it, and you're not getting down to the nitty gritty, you're not getting to the bottom of it. That's fine. That's where exemptions kicks in. If you think that there's no point giving questions because an authorised officer from a law enforcement agency has got to have the right to do their job, then fine. Fine. If there's a requirement in the case that you can't reveal those questions because it will give away knowledge or could give away something to which the suspect might seek to, how can I say, subvert the investigation. When I say subvert, I mean cause it to run into a dead end, divert it, turn it away from where it should really be going or what it should really be finding. That's fine. But in this case, there's no threat about that, unless you're dealing with the 3 Wallies or the 3 babies. Then you have got that risk. There's collusion afoot there. It's what they do. You wouldn't, and I mean it, and I'm saying that because it's the truth, and I can prove it over and over again. Okay. Corruption's their middle name. I'll say more than that, as I'll prove to you as we move on in different videos and whatever. I'll prove that. So I said to him, why? My sister had asked you 3 or 4 times, probably 5 times, and you refused. I said to him, you know, technically you cannot refuse that, don't you? I can't. No, you can't, not in this situation. And I said, the exemptions don't apply. And he said, what exemptions? So how real the exemptions are. And he's looking at me, and I can still see his face on the screen. He's looking at me, and he had a clue. And it's then, like a shot, I realised I'm dealing with somebody who's not an amateur when it comes to an investigator. But I'm dealing with somebody who's lower than a novice, lower than a beginner. He hasn't got a clue what he's doing. I've never been given a notification of investigation. He's telling me he wants my opinion, and I'm not under investigation, right? He's not giving me a list of questions. I've not agreed to a plan. I've not been given the opportunity to say whether or not I agreed to his appointment, which I should have been. And all this will come out in a later video when I talk about the fact that, and you're hearing it here first from some of you, those investigations and the reports, disqualified. Not applicable anymore. So all that, briefly, that was written about me and Barry and Brian, about how we were bad guys, not applicable. We're not. We're not bullies. No. We didn't show a lack of leadership. We didn't breach the code of conduct. We've been exonerated. And we're free. 2 with spirit and 1 physically. And that's why stuff like this has been done. So, back to the interview. I go through the interview with him, and I decide now that I'm going to bring my real professional side to it, and I start flipping his questions back at him. I'm not giving him the answers he wants. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction. Also, I'm thinking, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to make it very, very clear that it's going to be very dangerous to start messing about and saying that Barry and Brian didn't show leadership, they bullied, da-di-da-di-da. I've since actually, he gave me a transcript of what I'd said, and I watched the video. Yeah, I watched the video about, shock horror, mate. And you had to make one hell of a lot of changes because you'd written some stuff in there, and you'd written some stuff in there I never even said. It never even passed my lips, never even been uttered. So I'm now sitting there, you know, and he's given me this transcript about a week later, a couple of days later, a week later, whatever, and I'm thinking, he's not even written what I've said. I'm listening to my soundtrack, my video, right? Which would be the same as he's got. And he's put things in there I've not said. So I've got somebody now who believes he's an investigator, and he isn't. He's a clue. He's no idea of how to be an investigator. And he's now writing a statement that's got things in that I've not said, the supposed witness has not said. And I'm thinking, if he wants to use this in this investigation, this has got to be true. So I told him, you're going to make these changes, pal, or I'm not going to sign it. I'm not doing it. Because if I sign that with what you've written now, I'm being as dishonest as you. Well, this month took a turn, because the following day, after I'd done this meeting with this guy, I get an email from Bevan Britton. An email that went to my solicitor. I was not happy about. Bevan Britton knew I had a solicitor, and this should have gone to my solicitor first. Our solicitor, I should say. Stand corrected. He didn't. For the second or third time, they'd written direct to me after knowing that I've got just, you know, I got my sister. I'd instructed a solicitor that I've got a sister on retainer. You can't do that. If you know a person that you wish to contact is on a retainer with a solicitor, and you know who that solicitor is, you contact that solicitor first. You must do that. If you don't, you breach the practice rules, the SRA practice rules. You're not showing the mandatory principles, you're not being honest, and you're darn sure not showing any integrity. And I can tell you one thing, by doing that, by breaching the rules, you are not upholding the profession in its best possible light. You're doing a lot of damage to it. Period. So I forward this email to my sister, and I'm going to read you what this email says. And CC'd into this was the partner, Mr. David Kitson, and lo and behold, not even a beginner investigator, Mr. Robinson. And it starts, Dear Councillor Bruton, as you may be aware, we have been appointed by Cheshire East Council to undertake an investigation into, in relation to a number of standards complaints against yourself, Councillor Barry Burkle and Councillor Brian Tolver. Hang on a minute. You're now telling me you're investigating me, and I haven't received a notice of investigation from your client, which is what has to happen by law. First big cross. It goes on. In essence, the complainants have alleged breach of the Handforth Parish Council Code of Conduct. How can they allege a breach of a code of conduct, namely the Handforth Parish Council Code of Conduct, which doesn't exist? It's the Cheshire East Code of Conduct. So there's an error in your email straight away. I picked that up immediately. It goes on. By failing to treat others with respect during the extraordinary meeting of Handforth Parish Council on the 10th of December 2020. So it's just that one. No bullying, nothing like that. It's just that. So, all right, okay. This is something which picked up when we disqualified the investigations. You said it was on one area, but you went on. Also, I was not subject to notice of investigation. He goes on. As part of our investigation, we would like to meet with you next week for a discussion about the complaints. About the complaints. We would propose that this meeting take place virtually via video call with myself and my colleagues David Kitson, partner, and Mark Robinson, associate barrister. We have good availability next week, however we have some prior commitments and are therefore unavailable at these times of 8th of March, 9th of March, 10th of March, 11th of March, 12th of March and the times. If you can please let me know by the end of this week when suits best, then I will send an appointment for your diary. Not bloody likely you won't. We are intending to undertake the discussion via Zoom video call. Really? There will be an option for you to dial in by telephone if this is more suitable. Really? In the meantime, if you have any information that you believe will be useful for our discussion, then please do not hesitate to forward this to me as soon as possible. Please note that at this time, the investigation is being dealt with on a private and confidential basis. I just want to add one word after that. Bollocks. As you'll find, that's bollocks. No, it wasn't. We look forward to hearing from you, kind regards, and it's signed by a trainee. And I'm not going to have a go at that trainee because she was only doing what she's been instructed to do. Her two colleagues should have known better than to ask a trainee to send an email like that. I would never, ever, ever have asked a trainee to send an email like that. My first take, and we had a Teams meeting on this one. When I say we, there was Barry, Brian, myself, partner, a couple of other members of the public, and our solicitor, and a barrister, one of our barristers on it, and I said, I am not attending that meeting. Go take a running jump. I am not attending a 1v3. And I said, secondly, what complaint is this? And Barry and Brian said, we've not had anything about a complaint made against us at the 10th of December meeting. I said, well, I've had nothing. I said, I've checked Yahoo and all this jazz. I've done done a lot. I've done a lot. Yeah. What's going on here? So my stance was, no, I'm not doing it. Number one, because A, I now find I've had a complaint served on me which I've never received. So my Article 6 right to a fair trial has gone out the window. Now, anyone again, I'll remind you that it's an A or B, not A and B in Part 6. Yeah. And it's a number B. I've got a counsel is seeking to make a decision against me. So Article 6 kicks in for me. On top of that, I'm now under investigation, and it's come direct from the investigator when it should have come from Cheshire East. So that's a direct infringement, as the barrister on this call said, direct infringement of my Article 8 rights. Article 8 Human Rights Act right to privacy, respect, and to my family life. You're invading. You can't do that. There are no exemptions that apply here regards to the notification, as will be seen when I get to the complete destruction of these investigations and their disqualification. So I said, look, I'm going to write back and I'm going to tell them where to go. I'm going to tell them to get stuffed. It's not happening. But what I did do, I actually picked the phone up and I rang that day and I said, I've got a formal complaint here. I said, what kind of sick joke is this? I said, somebody needs to get back to me awfully quickly. I said, because this is not happening. There's going to be no meeting until this is corrected. I said, there's severe illegality involved here. And I got a great quote from my sister, my barrister, this particular barrister who was there to read, and I read it. And I said, I'll stick it in an email you want. Well, that's the 2nd of March. That's 2nd, 3rd of March. What's the date on that email? That's the 3rd of March. Right. 2nd of March, I get an email back from David Kitson, who copies in the trainee, and the investigator, Mr. Robinson, who's not even at the beginner level when it comes to investigations. He writes, Dear Councillor Brewson, thank you for your call to our office earlier today. So, get a straight response, the 4th. By the way, this email was sent at 7:24 in the evening, or 19:24. You've got a serious incident like this and you send an email at this time. Who in the hell do you think you are? That is unprofessional. You've had all day to put that email together and you send it now at that time? Dear me. You're not scoring very many brownie points for me, are you? That's unprofessional to me. And this is what he writes. Thank you for your call to our office earlier today. Your concerns have been passed to me as the partner overseeing the conduct of this matter. In the first instance, please accept my apologies if our email yesterday has caused you any concern. This was most certainly not our intention. Well, why the hell did you send it then? For clarity, we are currently instructed by Cheshire East Council in relation to 2 standards matters regarding Handful Parish Council. Just 2 standards matters. So why did we end up with 6 reports then? If it was just 2. Again, total inconsistency here. The first of these is being investigated by my colleague Mark Robinson, and you kindly spoke with Mr. Robinson on Tuesday, 2nd March 2021 to assist with that investigation. I did as best as I could, but he was not very helpful. The matter about which my colleague, and I'm not going to name the trainee, emailed you yesterday, and he puts it below, relates to a separate investigation in relation to a number of standards complaints against yourself, Councillor Barry Burkill and Councillor Brian Tolver. As the trainee's email sets out, the complainants have alleged the breach of the Handforth Parish Council Code of Conduct by failing to treat others with respect during the extraordinary meeting of the Handforth Parish Council on 10th December 2020. Well, number one, you've even misquoted where the Code of Conduct comes from. It is not the Parish Council Code of Conduct, it's Cheshire East Code of Conduct. Handforth Parish Council does not have its own separate Code of Conduct. It adopted the Cheshire East Code of Conduct. Therefore, it is the adopted Cheshire East Code of Conduct that Handforth is subject to, not its own. Let's get this right. So your email's all wrong. I picked that up. He then writes, it is our understanding that the council gave you notice of the complaints, but you did not submit a response prior to initial assessment being undertaken. Whoa. Big alarm bells here. I'll read that again. It is our understanding that the council gave you notice of the complaints, but you did not submit a response prior to initial assessment being undertaken. So I now know their client, Cheshire East Council, is telling them porcupines they're lying. If I didn't have notice of the complaint, why the hell am I playing hell saying I didn't, why would I say that for? Why would I lie? I did not have any notice of that complaint. I received no documentation of that complaint or complaints. So how can I respond? How? So he's now given up that his client is lying, and he's quite happy to peddle that lie. What due diligence did he undertake? None is your answer. Right. Nonetheless, if you would like more time before meeting with us for a discussion, then we would happily conduct the meeting in the week commencing 15th of March 2021, if that would be preferable. You've not listened to my complaint. I propose that my colleague Mark Robertson will conduct the meeting, supported by the trainee. They have good availability that week, but have some prior commitments. So you got a diary again, and are therefore unavailable at the following times. And they give me dates and times. Yes. Mentions the trainee's email that sets out. We are intending to undertake the discussion via Zoom video call, but there will be an option for you to dial in by telephone if this is more suitable. If you have any information that you believe will be useful for our discussion, then please don't hesitate to forward this to us as soon as possible. I trust that the above clarifies matters and addresses your concerns, and we look forward to hearing from you. Kind regards, David Kitson. It does nothing of the sort. You've actually caused even more concerns, more distress, more upset. It's a shocking email. It reveals that your client has lied. So I write back at 8:41 that night. I decide, I'm not waiting till the morning. I can't go to bed on this one. I say, I copy in Brian and Barry Birkle, and I blind copy in a whole host of people, like my solicitor, the barristers, you name it. There's a lot that's going on there. I say, dear Mr. Kitson, many thanks for your email, which I very much appreciate. My worries, however, have been extremely exacerbated, as I was never served with this complaint, and after speaking with counsellors Tolliver and Birkle, it has become apparent that none of us have been served with a complaint at any time. I am sure you would agree that it is odd that this failure to serve has happened to all three of us. I believe that someone at CEC has been economical with the truth. I think the failure to serve, followed by the false claim of service, needs to be thoroughly investigated. Now, I'm giving a subtle hint. You've got an avenue of investigation here. I get that email as an investigator. Bang, the main thing stops, and I'm looking into this, which is what should happen. Legally, professionally, and ethically, and morally. That don't happen with this one. As you'll find, they'll go ahead with it. So even if the complaint had been served by sending it to my HBC email address, that would be faulty service, as it is well documented at CEC that that particular email address is not in use and is shut due to me receiving an email infected with a nasty virus intended to infiltrate my personal computer. This happened around Christmas 2019, and I had this verified by one of the friends who's an expert IT investigator, and I did. I advised the clerk, and the email address was closed and has never been used. And on receiving, like I said, the trainee's email, and with serious concerns regarding what has happened, I took further legal advice and was told that this is a breach of my Article 6 Human Rights Act to a fair hearing. Until this serious error or misleading instruction is addressed, I cannot see how an investigation can proceed. So I'm using my professional knowledge here, my professional background, my expertise to try and guide clearly people who are not even at the level of beginners, when it comes to investigations. My legal advisor has also advised me that a 1v3 interview is manifestly unfair. With this in mind, I respectfully cannot agree to a meeting at this time. Finally, we today received notice from IPSO that our complaint regarding the publication of the video together with the falsities against us has been upheld. We've been advised that 9 newspapers and we made complaints against them now to meet with us to print a full retraction. That's a different side. Some did, some didn't. Okay. That email goes off. Made quite clear to him, until you sort this out, pal, I'm not meeting you. And he can go and do one. Take a running jump. It's not happening. Yeah, not happening. I get an email back on the following Monday, which will be 8th of March, at 11:20 in the evening. Talk about grossly unprofessional, indecent and wrong. And he writes, this is from Kitson, and he writes, Dear Councillor Bruton, thank you for your email and for the further explanation regarding your concerns, which we hope this email addresses. We have now liaised with Cheshire East Council who have confirmed that the complaint was sent to you by email, both to your Yahoo email address and the HBC email address that you do not use. So he's now admitted sending it to a dead email address. All right? And that you were asked to respond, so this could be taken into consideration. Following the completion of the initial assessment process, the Deputy Monitoring Officer sent you a decision notice, no they didn't, by way of email dated 15th of February 2021, stating that the complaints had been referred for investigation. No you didn't, you're lying, because this is another document I never received. This is again sent to both your Yahoo and HBC email addresses. A copy of this email and the decision notice is attached. I'll get to that now. The decision notice says it notes my response, but I've never made one. So the decision notice has already got another highly questionable anomaly in it. Notes my response, but I didn't make one because I never had the complaint sent to me. Okay. Number two, if there's a decision notice there, why are you investigating? The decision notice by law has to come after the investigation, not before it. So what you've done now is you predicated the investigation with predetermination, bias and prejudice. Well done. Oh, and yeah, a little bit of discrimination on it as well. Well done. Brilliant. Nice one, Cheshire East. Take a bow. Another brilliant Cheshire East cock-up. I don't know what it is about this council, but when you get up right to the high end, it seems to wallow in incompetence. And I don't know why. I've never been able to answer that question. Never probably will be able to. He goes on. We note your concerns regarding Article 6 rights to fair hearing. Please be assured that the process of speaking to us is to ensure that your views are heard and that any relevant information that you may have is taken into account as part of our investigation. Further, should the matter proceed to a hearing, which it won't, you will be given full opportunity to present your views and to ask questions of witnesses. All of this satisfies the requirements for a fair hearing in Article 6. No, it doesn't. As well as the principles of natural justice. No, it doesn't. Article 6 and the principles of natural justice, you complete idiots, mean I get the chance to respond firsthand. And you are still predicating a course of action that took that away from me. So you were following, as proved, a course of action that breached my Article 6 right to a fair hearing. And what you writing this told me is you didn't understand that. You didn't grasp that. You just wrote a stupid paragraph that opened you wide up and proved my point. That's what you did. He went on. As I am sure you will appreciate, our role in this process is entirely impartial. Rubbish. Don't believe you. We will be considering all of the information and evidence provided to us as part of our investigation in order to reach a conclusion as to whether the allegations are or not made out. Rubbish. You wouldn't let us put any evidence in. And that I will bring out in a future video. He goes on. As stated in my previous email, the meeting will be attended by two of my colleagues. And he mentions Mark Robinson will be conducting the meeting with the support of the trainee. The reason that we are proposing to have at least two people from our team on the call is so that we can accurately record your comments. No, it's not. You'll be given the chance to review and comment on the notes from the meeting to ensure that you're happy with them. There's not going to be a meeting, mate. You're not getting where I'm coming from. Until you correct this mess, there's no meeting. We hope that the above explanations address your concerns and reiterate that we would like to discuss the complaints with you as part of our investigation. Nope. My colleagues have good availability for the week commencing 15th of March 2021, but they have some prior commitments and are therefore unavailable at the following times. He gives the dates and times. We will be grateful if you could respond with your availability, following which we will send you an appointment. As before, if you have any information that you believe will be useful for our discussion, then please do not hesitate to forward this to us as soon as possible. Thank you also for the information regarding your IPSO comments. If you think it would be helpful for us to see any of the documents on this, then please do share these with us for consideration. Not a cat and house chance, they're private. We look forward to hearing from you with your availability. This jackanapes don't get it. He don't get it. He's not having a meeting. It's not happening. Now, a lot of you thinking, come on now, why didn't you go through with it? Why didn't you go through with it? Simple. I've not seen the complaints. I've got a determination notice that is wrong. And by the way, an accompanying email that was in two different inks one was blue and the bottom half it was green. So as far as I'm concerned, to me, that's an obvious forgery. It's inconsistent. So I can't accept it. Professionally, personally, ethically, morally, I can't accept it. I won't accept it. So I stuck to my guns and I wrote back to him and I told him, no chance in hell are you having a meeting. And I warned him, until this nonsense is sorted out, I will not meet you. You must do it. You must sort this out. If you don't, that's it. End of days, end of the line. It's not happening. And I made it very clear it's not happening. And I'll tell you now, it didn't happen. And I'm damn sure it didn't happen. And I did. And I got my way. I was not going to sit in a 3-on-1 meeting with idiots. And this is what I wrote. This was my response. And I even copied my MP into this. Dear Mr. Kitson, many thanks for your email, but I was appalled to receive it so late at night. I cannot understand why it could not be sent at a better time. The further stress it caused me kept me awake all night and has made me very ill. The explanations you have given do not soothe my worries, but compound them even further. Your email has only served to exacerbate my worries even further, as it is quite clear that someone at Cheshire East is clearly lying, and must know they are. I have again spoken to Countess Tolver and Burkle, who have told me that the complaints were not served against them. To state that it was served is blatantly dishonest. It was never served on anyone, and any one of us. We could not possibly respond. To compound matters, they have now illegally issued determination notices against us. CEC have a duty to ensure that all available routes for service with such documents is exhausted. This they clearly have not done. Email is not the only route. What about posting it? I was never sent the complaint, and that is well known to CEC, who are using dishonesty to cover up their own failings. I received no complaint in January 2021, and the email that Mr. Dainty claims was sent to me simply was not. No email was received. I have concerns over the validity of the email, as I have now sound ground to believe that the email provided to you is a forgery. As we professional investigators say, it's clearly been spoofed. There is no header, address or addressees, time of sending or date, and also why is my name highlighted in blue. This is not the norm for a legal email. Furthermore, as the determination notice was illegally entered, as the complaints were not served on me, then it is not worth the paper it's written on. The notice is invalid, as improper procedure has been followed, and CEC are acutely aware of that. Given the further legal treatment that we have been made subject to, I will be submitting my resignation to the monitoring officer. If I was presented with this situation in any investigation which I have done or doing, I would immediately cease what I was doing and investigate what has happened and transpired. Any decent investigation will reveal that CEC has been dishonest in their actions and perfidious in their instruction to you. Taking into consideration all the above, this is clearly a most serious breach of my Article 6 Human Rights Act 1998 right to a fair hearing. I clearly have not been afforded that at all. I cannot accept that a meeting with you and your colleagues would be giving me that right, as it simply would not, as a determination that notice has been submitted. My human rights have had roughshod run over them. Until this serious error or misleading instruction is addressed, I cannot see how any investigation can proceed. My legal advisor has also advised me that a 1v3 interview is manifestly unfair. With this in mind, I respectfully cannot agree to meeting at this time or at all until the severe illegalities perpetrated by Cheshire East have been addressed to a mutually acceptable level, and I am going to bring CEC's illegal conduct to the attention of the leadership of CEC and my MP. I do not wish to receive any correspondence until CEC's conduct has been fully rectified. In terms of supplying documentation from our ipso complaint, that cannot be done, as it is private to me, my family, and Councillors Tolver and Burke. Kind regards, Alan Bruton. So that sternly rebuked him. I'll say it in packing. I'm not taking any hassle. I'm not taking any nonsense. Okay? On top of that, in the background, what else have we got rumbling on? We have found out, yeah, we've got an unlawful election going. We were passed evidence by 17 different members of the West Ward, which is my ward of Hanford, that one of the candidates was seen handing out Easter eggs to children of members of the electorate on the West Ward. Oh dear. That candidate is Julie Smith, current Cheshire East councillor. I mean, she's resigned off the Clown Council. She's still at Cheshire East. Barry, myself and Brian, we sent an email to Brian Reid, who's the head of Democratic Services at Cheshire East. We sent that on Tuesday the 6th of April 2021, but this had taken place in March. So we had to do something. We had to act. So that was now starting to rumble on. We didn't get anything. So, yeah, that email, 6th of April, had to go. We're heading back to March. After the fiasco with Bevan Britton, I was again feeling very, very poorly. I was sleeping long hours. I didn't have a great appetite. And after numerous meetings with Barry and Brian, our legal representatives, I'd come to a conclusion that I had enough. My health had to come first. I wanted to go back. I knew a meeting had been called, but those caring for me, my medical advisors, doctors, stuff like that, said, look, you go back, you're going to kill yourself. You are poorly, you must get out, otherwise you're going to put your life in jeopardy. And I sat there and I thought, is this all really worth it? Is it, you know, what we need to do? And I came to the conclusion that it wasn't. And I decided to put my health, my well-being, physical and mental, and my family first. And of course, you know who I consider family. And now here's the big reveal. A lot of people think I officially resigned on April the 23rd of 2021. I didn't. I officially resigned on Sunday the 14th of March 2021. I sent a letter by email noting that to the monitoring officer. Into that email, that letter was copied Brian Tolver, the chair of Hanford Parish Council. Yep. Barry Burkill. My solicitor. Members of my family. And some close personal friends. And I'm going to leave you with what I wrote in my resignation letter. Dear Mr. Brown, when I started this journey, I felt a positive exuberance and looked forward to the challenges which lay ahead. I was happy. I was confident. I felt I could, as a member of Hanford Parish Council, make a difference and bring about a much-needed improvement to the reputation of the council and the community which it is designed to serve. Given what has been permitted to occur, that hope has now completely died, and I'm holding you and your department solely responsible for that. My reasons are clear and include, inter alia, 1. A complete failure to address the woeful standards of conduct at HBC. 2. Upholding the unlawful disqualification of a councillor. 3. Holding an unlawful election in Hanford West Ward. 4. Instigating an investigation against an innocent person. 5. Making villains out of victims. 6. Breach of human rights through breach of confidentiality and breach of human rights itself. 7. Departmental dishonesty towards councillors in relation to formal complaints. 8. Failure to respond to and ignorance of inquiry communications from councillors. 9. Failure to be impartial towards members of HBC. 10. Bullying. 11. Breach of GDPR. And 12. Unfair and inequitable disallowing of formal complaints. Those 12 points have made my position impossible. I have upheld and respected the rule of law and the code of conduct, and I'm being harassed and vilified for doing just that. I find what I have to endure is unacceptable, and there are now a great many questions, legal and otherwise, that must now be answered. So we must now be asked with how this has all been addressed and dealt with. The final chapter of this quite useless saga, coming with your department claiming to have served complaints on councillors when in fact they did not, deny an Article 6 Human Rights Act 1998 right to a fair hearing, and then issuing determination notices before moving it on to an investigation stage. I cannot continue to serve as a councillor in the light of such severe illegality and unwarranted personalised attacks. The lack of correctness in approach has led directly to me, my family and my friends being harassed. I have also received nuisance calls, offensive messages on social media and death threats, all of which are now under investigation by the police. I lay the blame for this directly on you and your department. I am fully reserving the right to publish the full story of this horrendous suffering that I've had to undergo. Therefore, I find that the position is untenable, and I must put the safety and well-being of my family and friends first. I, along with other councillors, have been made scapegoats to cover up illegality, and I am not going to fall victim to that or be part of an investigation when it was not me who broke the law. I will no longer play any part in this malfeasance and will not be party to it. Accordingly, please take this as notice of my resignation, which is effective and immediate from the time of sending. Yours sincerely, Alan Bruton. Yeah. And I'm going to leave you with this. Remember Cheshire East's claims they'd sent stuff to me, to my email, my private email address, my Yahoo? We got that investigated. We went right to the source to check. Yahoo themselves. And no such emails were ever sent, received, or for that matter, even on a bounce back. So whoever at Cheshire East told Bevan Britton they'd done that had knowingly lied and predicated a path of complete dishonesty. That's what we were dealing with, and it was from that point we realised this investigation was a hatchet job, and that it was, and I will quote Dr. Cyril Wecht here, sinisterly contrived, horribly inept, woefully inadequate. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll be back soon.